Alright, so if you've watched NFL football for more than 5 minutes, you've definitely seen a call that made you want to throw your TV out the window. Like, a ref just makes a decision that's so obviously wrong that it changes the entire game, changes the season, changes playoff races, and some of these calls are so bad that they literally changed NFL rules forever. We're talking about moments that still have fans mad years later. These are the 20 worst calls in NFL history. Let's go. Number 20. So back in 1978, there was this play called the Holy Roller, and it became so controversial that they literally named a rule after it to make sure it never happened again. This was Raiders versus Chargers, and Stabler fumbles the ball. But here's the thing. He fumbles it intentionally, trying to keep it alive. The Raiders bat it forward into the end zone, and it's ruled a touchdown. Now the Chargers are freaking out because you can't just intentionally fumble forward and have it count. That's not football. The ref said, yeah, you can, and it stood. Stabler got called the greatest lucky player ever, but really it was just the worst officiating imaginable. They changed the rule immediately after that, which tells you everything you need to know. Number 19. Now let's talk about the Fail Mary, because this one was legitimately insane. This was 2012. Replacement refs were running games because the regular refs were on strike, and the Seahawks were playing the Packers. Russell Wilson throws a Hail Mary into the end zone, and look, Jennings clearly intercepts it. The guy's got possession, he's got control, and then Tate comes down with him and Tate commits offensive pass interference. It's like an open and shut case, right? Packers ball, game over. But the refs huddle up and call it a simultaneous possession touchdown. Simultaneous. One guy had it, the other guy didn't. There's no way that's simultaneous. Green Bay loses, Seattle wins on the most blatant blown call in a primetime game. And honestly, this call was so bad that it basically ended the ref lockout. The league was like, okay, we gotta bring back the real refs because this is unwatchable. Number 18. Alright cuz. The Tuck rule is one that Patriots fans will defend until the day they die, and everybody else will say it cost the Raiders a Super Bowl. This was 2002, AFC Championship game, January 19, Raiders versus Patriots. Brady gets hit by Woodson and the ball comes loose. It looks like a fumble. It is a fumble. But the refs huddled up and called it an incomplete pass based on the Tuck rule, which basically said if a guy was bringing the ball back to his body when he fumbled, it's not a fumble. Patriots get the ball back, end up kicking a field goal to tie and win in overtime. That play started the Patriots dynasty. Think about that. If that call goes the other way, New England probably doesn't become the dynasty they became. And the rule was so controversial that they literally abolished it in 2013. 13 years. It took them 13 years to admit that rule was stupid, but in that time it affected dozens of games. Number 17. Alright, so now we're getting into the ones that literally changed how the NFL works forever. The Dez Bryant No Catch in 2015 is one that still has Cowboys fans losing their minds, so it's 4th and 2. Cowboys are down 26-21. There's less than 5 minutes left in the divisional playoff game against Green Bay. Dez catches the ball, gets 3 full steps down the sideline, and lunges for the end zone. By every measure of football common sense, that's a catch. But the refs call it incomplete. They review it and overturn it to incomplete. And here's the thing, that play was so obviously wrong that it led directly to the NFL completely changing the catch rule in 2018. Just the Dez catch rule. They had to rewrite how you define a catch because that one call was so bad. Number 16. But even though Dez caught it, number 16 is Calvin Johnson and what happened in Detroit in 2010. This is the complete opposite situation. So the Lions are down 19-14 against the Bears. There's 31 seconds left in the game. Calvin Johnson catches what should be the game-winning touchdown. He's in the end zone. He puts the ball on the ground standing up in the end zone, and the refs rule it incomplete. Like, the man's already in the end zone. The ball's on the ground. It's a touchdown, but because he loses possession when he sets it down, they say it's incomplete. That's not a catch rule issue, that's just refs being morons. This was so bad that it also led to them changing the catch rule, but the Lions didn't get a do-over. They lost that game. Calvin Johnson never won a playoff game his entire career, and this call right here might be why. Number 15. Now the Bottlegate situation is one where the fans actually showed up to the ref's house because the call was so bad. This was 2001, Jaguars vs. Browns, December 16th. So the refs try to review a play, but here's the problem. They're trying to review it after another play has already happened. That's literally against the rules. You can't do that. But they did. And when they made the call, Browns fans started pelting the field with beer bottles. Thousands of bottles. The whole field was covered in glass because the fans were so mad. The refs literally tried to end the game early because they couldn't control the situation they created. It was complete chaos, and it was entirely the refs' fault for trying to review something they had no business reviewing. Number 14. Alright, so let's talk about something that changed a rule immediately. The heads-tails coin toss in 1998, Thanksgiving Day, Steelers versus Lions. Jerome Bettis is supposed to call the coin toss before it happens. He says tails, but the ref, Jeff Luckett, tells everybody he said heads. So the coin is flipped, it's tails, and Luckett says the Steelers won the toss. But Bettis totally called tails. It's clear as day. But because Luckett told everybody he said heads before the flip, officially the Steelers won. The rule at the time was that you had to call it before it was flipped, but the ref was the only one who heard it, so technically Bettis got robbed. That one ref's decision, one man's word, cost the Lions the coin toss. The NFL immediately changed the rule so the coin call has to happen on live television so everybody can hear it. That's how bad that call was. Number 13. Alright, now the Chooley Whistle in 2008 is one where a veteran ref actually admitted he blew it. So it's Broncos versus Chargers. The Chargers are driving, and Cutler fumbles the ball. The Chargers recover it clean. But Chooley blew his whistle before the Chargers even picked it up, which means the play is dead and Denver keeps the ball. Now the Broncos get the ball back, they end up scoring a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and they win 39-38. The Chargers literally got cheated out of a fumble recovery that should have been 6 points. And here's the crazy part. Chooley actually emailed fans later and was like, "I failed miserably." He admitted it was his mistake. But that doesn't matter because the game's already over and Denver won. That whistle cost San Diego a game they should have won. Number 12. But even though Chooley admitted his mistake, number 12 is when the league straight up refused to admit they were wrong. The Saints versus Rams no-call PI in 2019 is maybe the most blatant missed call in NFL history. NFC Championship, playoff game, January 20th. Tied 20-20 with 1 minute 49 seconds left. Saints are driving. Roby Coleman comes flying in and absolutely obliterates Tommy Lee Lewis before the ball even gets there. That's pass interference all day, there's no debate. But the ref doesn't throw a flag. No flag. Saints have to settle for a field goal to go up 23-20. Saints kick it, and then the Rams tie it up and win in overtime. If that flag gets thrown, Saints probably get at least a field goal if not a touchdown, and they're in the Super Bowl. Instead, they're watching the Rams play the Patriots. Sean Payton himself said, "The league office just blew it." And you know what? The NFL knew it was bad too because they made pass interference reviewable for exactly 1 season after that, then immediately got rid of that rule. They basically said, "We know we messed up, but we don't want to keep admitting it on replay." Number 11. Now alright, we're getting into the top 10 and some of these next ones are just absolutely unhinged. Mike Renfro's phantom out-of-bounds call in 1979 is one that led directly to the NFL implementing instant replay. AFC Championship, Oilers versus Steelers, Renfro catches the pass and both his feet are clearly in bounds. Like, there's no question. Multiple angles show his feet in bounds. But the ref says he's out of bounds and the Steelers get the ball back. Oilers lose the game. Renfro fought for decades saying he caught it in bounds, and replay later confirmed he was right. This one call was so obviously wrong that the league said we need a system to review these things. They brought in instant replay specifically because of that moment. Number 10. But even though they brought in instant replay, they still managed to mess up calls with it sometimes. Vinny Testaverde had a phantom touchdown where he threw a pass and the ball landed in the end zone and bounced away, but the refs called it a touchdown. Jets beat the Seahawks on a play that wasn't even a completed pass. When they brought it back to replay, even the replay booth couldn't figure out how it was a touchdown, but it stood anyway. That's one of those moments where you're watching it live and you know something's wrong, but the refs are so committed to the original call that they won't change it. Number 9. The Music City Miracle is one that will forever be debated. 1999, Titans vs. Bills, playoff game, Tennessee down by 1, like 2 seconds left. Frank Wycheck throws a lateral to Jamal Lewis for what looks like a game-winning touchdown. But was it a forward pass? Because if it's a forward pass, it's incomplete and Bills win. If it's a lateral, it's a touchdown and Titans win. The refs said it was a lateral, Titans won and went to the Super Bowl. Bills fans say it was clearly a forward pass, and honestly, looking at the replay, it could go either way. That's the most frustrating part. The rule should be clear, but there's legitimate debate about whether that was a lateral or a forward pass. But the refs made the call, it stood, and we'll never know for sure. Number 8. Alright cuz, the Emanuel no catch is one that's been ranked up there with the worst calls in NFL history. 1999 NFC Championship, Bucs vs. Falcons, Emanuel catches the ball, but his foot hits the pylon, and then the ball bounces out. The refs rule it incomplete, but the rule at the time said if you catch the ball in the air and then your feet come down in bounds, it's a catch. Emanuel's foot was literally on the pylon, which is technically out of bounds, so they ruled it incomplete. But the intent of the rule was to protect receivers who were falling out of bounds, not to penalize them for being near the pylon. That call was so controversial that they changed the rule specifically to clarify it. The Bucs ended up losing that game and not making the Super Bowl that year. Totally different outcome if that call goes the other way. Number 7. But even the Emanuel call doesn't quite stack up to the snowplow game in 1982. So the Patriots are playing the Dolphins, it's snowing heavily, and the Patriots arrange for a guy with a tractor to come clear the yard lines so they can kick field goals. They literally use a snowplow during the game to clear the spot where they're about to kick. And the refs just let it happen? Like, that's not football anymore, that's just cheating with equipment. The Pats kicked the field goal to win, and while it wasn't technically against the rules at the time, because apparently nobody thought you'd need a rule against using a snowplow during the game, it was absolutely ridiculous. The NFL had to create a rule immediately saying you can't do that. Number 6. Now, the 2018 Clay Matthews roughing the passer call is one where a new rule basically broke its own rules. So the NFL implemented this new roughing the passer penalty to protect quarterbacks, which is fine. We want to protect players. But Clay Matthews sacks the quarterback in a completely legal way. He's got his body weight on top of him, which is allowed. But the refs throw a flag for roughing the passer. The rule was so new and poorly defined that refs were calling it on completely legal plays. It was a huge problem that season. They had to clarify the rule immediately because Matthews' call showed how broken it was. The rule makers tried to protect QBS and ended up making the game unwatchable instead. Number 5. Alright, so the Jerry Rice non-fumble in 1998 is one of those plays where everybody who watched it live knew it was wrong. Wild card playoff, 49ers vs. Packers, Rice catches the pass, and then he fumbles it. The ball's on the ground, it's loose, but the ref didn't see it and didn't call it. The 49ers got to keep the ball on a clear fumble. The Packers lost a game they should have won. And this was before replay became as extensive as it is now. So there was nothing they could do about it in the moment. The 49ers went on a run because of that one call, and Green Bay watched it happen knowing they got robbed. Number 4. Now, the Super Bowl 50 situation between the Steelers and Seahawks in 2005 was so bad that people still talk about it as the worst officiated Super Bowl ever. The Seahawks were getting absolutely jobbed with calls all game. There was holding that wasn't called, there was pass interference that was called in situations where it shouldn't have been. It was just a mess. Ben Roethlisberger threw what looked like incomplete passes that were ruled complete. The Super Bowl is supposed to be officiated perfectly. This was anything but. The Seahawks got completely robbed, and the Steelers got every call going their way. Decades later, people still say that game was decided by the refs, not by the Steelers being better. Number 3. The Ahmad Brooks legal hit in 2013 is one where the refs literally penalized a guy for making a tackle. So Brooks is a defensive end for the 49ers, the quarterback's in the pocket, and Brooks hits him. It's a completely legal hit. There's no roughing the passer, no hitting below the knees, nothing. It's just a tackle, but the ref throws a flag anyway. They called roughing the passer on a play where he did nothing wrong. The penalty gave the opposing team a fresh set of downs and changed the momentum of the game. It's one of those calls that makes you realize the refs are just making things up at that point. Brooks was doing his job perfectly and got penalized for it. The 49ers lost that game in part because of phantom calls like that one. Number 2. Now, number 2 is the moment that changed the entire direction of the NFL. The pass interference that wasn't called in the Saints-Rams championship game was so bad that we already talked about it, but let me emphasize how crazy it was. That one no call literally changed the Saints' entire franchise trajectory. They weren't supposed to lose that game. The refs stole it from them. And the league didn't even issue a statement saying we messed up until like a month later. They knew it was wrong and they waited to admit it. That's not acceptable. That one call cost the Saints a Super Bowl appearance, probably cost Sean Payton his job eventually, and basically said to the rest of the league that refs can make whatever call they want and there's nothing you can do about it. Number one, the absolute worst call in NFL history has to be the Dez Bryant no catch because it's the most obvious wrong decision in a playoff game at the most critical moment. 4th and goal, championship. He caught it. Everybody watching knew he caught it. But the refs said no and changed the entire course of that game. The Cowboys would have had another shot at a Super Bowl if that call goes the right way. Instead, it didn't, and it was so obviously wrong that the league had to completely rewrite their entire catch rule to make sure it never happened again. That's the worst call because it was wrong, it cost a team the game, and it was so bad that the entire rulebook had to change because of it. Alright, so those are the 20 worst calls in NFL history, and honestly, if you've been watching football long enough, you've probably had a few of these burn into your brain forever. The crazy thing is some of these calls are so infamous that they literally changed the rules. The league sees something go that wrong and they're like, okay, we gotta make sure that never happens again. But then they still manage to make new terrible calls with the new rules. It's wild. Let me know in the comments which call made you the angriest, and if there's a bad call you think should have been on this list, drop it down below. And seriously, hit that subscribe button because we got tons more NFL content breaking down the wildest moments in football history. Let's go.